Hey you guys, so this is going to be a postnatal Kegel. So after baby is out and we want to start to strengthen the pelvic floor again. One of the things that we want to remember here is if we have pelvic pain, we're not going to actually do this exercise. And that actually holds true in pregnancy, but very often we discover that, things didn't quite come back the same way after baby is out. All right, so we no longer have all that weight that we're carrying around, but we do have potentially muscles that have been kind of taxed. So if you fall under the category of more of a muscle that is weaker, this will be very helpful for you, okay? And the way the respiratory diaphragm and the pelvic floor work together, as you inhale, that respiratory diaphragm descends, and so does the pelvic floor. And as you exhale, the pelvic floor and the respiratory diaphragm ascend. So it's an inhale, we expand, and an exhale, we draw in. Okay, so we're going to find that rhythm, and we're going to do that lift with awareness on the breath. Now the breath is, we're going to match the breath as we do naturally. In prenatal, I kind of ask you to do a little more of the heavy lifting on an inhale, because I don't want you to learn how to squeeze and lift your pelvic floor on an exhale. Because we know that we need to most likely push a baby out on an exhale, and that will actually require transverse work, and we want to keep kind of the door open at the bottom here for baby to exit, okay? So think about it, right? If you had a tube of, say, toothpaste and the cap was on and you're squeezing your belly, nothing's going to come out if the cap was on, right? So you have to keep that pelvic floor open in pregnancy as you're doing kind of a little bit more belly breathing, exhaling, right? Kind of toning a little bit more of your abdominals. Okay, but in post, because everything is out already, we want to make sure pelvic floor and abdominals work in unison so that we are not pushing too much force down on the pelvic floor. All right, so that inhale is going to come with a lift and a squeeze. The exhale as we go into this exercise. The inhale is always going to be that full, beautiful three-dimensional breath. And the exhale will be a drawing in of the pelvic floor. We'll do that little lift, and then it'll be a little bit even more of a tone in the belly. Okay, so let's try it together. Close the eyes, sit up tall. As you inhale, allow that three-dimensional breath to happen. Feel the belly expand as the pelvic floor widens. And as you exhale, before you engage anything in your core into the belly area, lift the pelvic floor up and then draw the belly in. And then we'll do, once again, an inhale. Relax the belly. Release the pelvic floor. Now, if you didn't want to add your belly and you're just focusing on the pelvic floor, we'll think of the pelvic floor as a lift and a squeeze and a kind of a squeeze and a lift, I should say, in that order. Okay, we'll try it just with that now. So once again, diaphragmatic breath, inhale, expand. And now as you exhale, there'll be that tone of the pelvic floor. So feel a little squeeze there, and then I'd like you to lift the pelvic floor. Like try to lift those deeper muscles up, and then inhale, relax slowly and expand and open and relax the pelvic floor as well. And then exhale, we'll squeeze at the base, that perineum area, and then you're trying to lift up, and you'll feel your abdominals will have to work with you, okay? It is part of it, but you can just focus on pelvic floor, okay? So you inhale, expand. And you exhale, you lift, you squeeze and lift. Those deeper layers, you're trying to lift up, but you're exhaling here. Inhale. Now, if your pelvic floor, just relax for a moment and listen. If your pelvic floor is like really weak, like if you have incontinence where you're sneezing and peeing and you're trying to do a lot more strengthening than just this natural kind of lift and squeeze, you can add a double squeeze to it. So you can add an inhale and an exhale, right? And then just go back down. So I'll show you. Let's try it together. So we'll inhale and expand, just relax even in the jaw, no tension, pelvic floor widens. And as you exhale, there's the tone. So we tone, which is what I mean by squeeze, tone, and then lift on the exhale. Now, hold that squeeze there. And as you inhale, lift and squeeze a little bit more. Exhale maybe a little bit more. Okay, and now inhale, relax, and exhale, just release. So you want to see if you can get that extra kind of hold and lift. It's kind of like a second cycle of breath as you're finding those muscles. But do make sure that you are fully releasing and relaxing at the end. All right, try it again. Inhale, expand. And exhale, squeeze and lift. Inhale, lift a little bit more. Squeeze and lift a little more. Inhale, totally, slowly relax. And exhale, empty even more of your breath out. Okay, so that'll give you just a little bit more oomph if you need it. But remember that we're working in unison. The transverse abdominals and the pelvic floor in pregnancy are going to be a little bit at odds in the sense that I don't want you to exhale and shh and squeeze, right? Because you might at the end of the day end up kind of creating more tension in your pelvic floor. All right, it's a little different, but I hope that made some sense for you. And I'm going to do another video that just shows you some what I call belly breathing, which is really just diaphragmatic breathing, and how I would kind of instruct it on putting more attention on your abdominals, less on the pelvic floor in pregnancy. And then in postnatal, we'll have to do the pelvic floor first before we do the abdominals, okay? All right, so you can find me on the next one. Thanks so much. Namaste.